Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of On Cloud Anime. I'm your host Photaru, and today I'm going to be talking about the top 10 anime that came out this year. And I just want to say a very personal message, and it's that around the time that this episode releases, it will officially be 1 year since I first joined On Cloud Anime. And I just want to give a very special thanks to all the listeners out there. So without further ado, these are the top 10 anime that came out this year. Now, before we get into it, I just want to say that I haven't watched every single anime that came out this year, so take all my opinions with a grain of salt, especially considering my word is not law. Starting off this list is Shikanoko no Kosh. When I first heard this anime, I thought that it was going to be somewhat of a trend, deeply forgotten, and that it probably wasn't even going to be that good. So I was shocked when I decided to give it a chance, and I was very pleased with the humor of the show. It's very random, but in a way that it's not unfunny. Because there are some animes where I've watched it and I thought that it was a little too random for me, or brain rot even. And Shikanoko no Kosh is kind of brain rotty, but in a good way, if that makes sense. Now, the plot is very simple. The main character, Kosh, tries to be the perfect student while hiding a dark secret, which is that she used to be a delinquent, and some high school deer hybrid knows this secret, and Kosh wants to make sure that it doesn't get out there. And it quickly spirals into random hijinks. And one of the episodes, the deer just takes her antler and chucks it at the school, and it's a grenade, and it's definitely a ride. Now, there is no real deeper meaning to this show, but that doesn't make it a bad thing. If you're just looking for a chill anime, Shikanoko no Kosh will be the show for you. But for me, I usually like when there is a deeper meaning, which is why I'm putting it at number 10, but it is still enjoyable. At number 9 is the romance anime Alia Hides Her Feelings in Russian. Now, the plot is pretty self-explanatory. The main girl, Alia, is half Russian, and she has a crush on this boy, the main character, and decides to say very flirty things in Russian to make sure that he doesn't hear anything. But plot twist, the main character does understand Russian and is very, surprised by the situation. But it's very surprising how this show actually progresses very well. There's a lot of romance nowadays are skipping all of the old tropes that make the genre as a whole annoying. And it's very refreshing to see nowadays. I mean, there's another anime that I'm going to be talking about later on that does the same thing. But Alia is just overall a very good ride. It's just for me, sometimes it's a little weird. Some people may enjoy the weirdness, others will not. And it's been kind of marked as the degenerate anime. I mean, there was a very well-animated foot scene with the main character putting a sock on the main girl. And then there's this entire character named Yuki, who is the main character's little sister. And the thing about her is that she is the archetype of little sisters, I guess, in anime. At least she tries to be. You know, she does weird things like she hops in her brother's bed. She says very incesty lines because they're otaku buddies and all that stuff. She's an acquired taste as a character, if that makes sense. Personally, it's kind of hard for me to say that she is my favorite character, but yeah, she is kind of my favorite character because she brings a lot of energy to the show, and I think that she's just overall very enjoyable whenever she's on screen, though she is very, very, very weird. But one thing that is very unique about Alia's anime as well is that it has 11 unique ending songs, which are covers that the main voice actor does of just popular songs. I can't really name any at the top of my head. I think that the second ending is the most recognizable one. And, just a little fun piece of trivia. Alia's voice actor actually learned Russian so that she could sing the Russian anthem, and it's a bit random, but I respect it. And for the English dub, a voice actor that is very popular is Ash Ketchum's voice actor plays Alia in the English dub, which is drastically different from her previous roles, but I'm here for it. And the main character has the same voice actor as Miyuki Shirogane from Love is War in the English dub. So they have a lot of fun with the script as they did in Love is War, which is a compliment to me because if you don't know, Love is War is my favorite show. So having Alia compared to it is not an easy say, but there are definitely some weird lines. And it's whenever Yuki's on screen. At number 8 is Windbreaker. Now, you may have heard me talk about this not that long ago when we had Aura on this podcast, but I just have to reiterate that Windbreaker is still an amazing show. But there are other episodes that came out after that podcast that make it not as enjoyable as it was before. Now, it's still number 8 on this list, meaning that I still find it very enjoyable. I have to, again, reiterate that. But the last 3 episodes of season 1 were really boring. I'll get back to that later. So the main character, Sakura, goes into a new town and he joins a gang, kind of, except they do good things around town. You know, it's not like the typical battle gangs and all that stuff. And Sakura is used to being the outcast, but he starts to find his place slowly but surely. A lot of people early on compared it to Tokyo Revengers just because it's a gang, but it's actually deeper than that. I think that the themes of belonging is very noble of the main character, since he isn't like the normal hot-headed archetype. He's very open, I guess you could say, about his feelings. Even though he doesn't want to be, he's still an open book. And the first 6 episodes are incredible. Like, actually, no, the first 8. The first entire arc was amazing because the fights were on another level. Like, there were outstanding. And I think that if you want a show that has a deeper meaning and has the action as well, Windbreaker might just be the place to start. And I will say that there are a bit of flashbacks from episodes 4 through 8, but I think that they're all very well planned out and add to the story a lot. So some people may not be into that, some people will. Personally, I liked it a lot. I like the details. That being said, there was a lot of randomness going on in the last 3 episodes, and it was very hard to watch. To the point where when Windbreaker first started, I was on it. Like the day it came out, the hour it came out, I was watching Windbreaker's new episode. But it started to dwindle down a bit with the final episodes. I was like, yeah, I can wait another week for an episode because it really is just kind of boring. That being said, still a very solid season. And if you're new to anime, I'd give it a shot if you want a show with a good message and good fights. Coming in at number 7 is Signs of Affection. This is a romance anime about a girl who's deaf and a guy who wants to learn what it's like to be in her world. Now, if you want me to be entirely honest with you, the main thing that hooked me was the deaf girl. I can't lie to you. And the reason for this is because my favorite movie of all time is a little one called A Silent Voice. And that movie has a deaf girl with pink hair. Oh, would you look at that? This anime has a deaf girl with pink hair also. But I definitely was not disappointed when I watched this because this show is not like crazy in any way. I mean, you can easily predict anything that's happening, but it's the experience. Now, what I would say as its biggest weakness and why it's at number 7 and not higher is that, well, yes, the dynamic between the main characters is very special. I feel like all the other characters are very forgettable. They usually just kind of have one thing that goes on to them, and then we go straight back to the main cast. And I can't say that at the end of the 12 episodes, there was a particular character that I was attached to. But this is a romance anime, not a slice of life. So with that in mind, the romance itself is still very enjoyable. You don't really see dynamics like this that often, where 2 different worlds collide and each world tries to understand the other. So Signs of Affection is a very sweet anime, but it's not particularly something I go crazy about when mentioned. Number 6 on this list is the second core to season 2 of Mushoku Tensei. Now, there's a lot of controversial things about Mushoku Tensei. A lot of the writer's kinks, I guess, being written into the light novel, but also being added out. We'll get to that later. But Mushoku Tensei, deep down, is still a very well-written show. It's just a little much. One thing I will say and always give props to Mushoku Tensei is the way that it depicts heartbreak. There's always these depressing scenes that go on, and it always affects the main character Rudius in some way, shape, or form. This particular season had a very hard-hitting moment, I'm not going to spoil what it is, that really affected Rudius in a way that he had feelings of complication. He didn't know how to feel, and the way it was depicted was very well. It was to the point where I could understand what he was feeling, even though I had never been in his position. Now, immediately, one misconception I see about Mushoku Tensei sometimes is that people think that Rudius being born into a new world, because this is an isekai, means that he's trying to redeem himself, which is not true at all. Rudius is running away from the problems that he caused in his past life and is trying to make a new one, which isn't very noble and it's not supposed to be at all. But there are moments where he is human and he has likable interactions, such as his dynamic with his little sisters in this world, Aisha and Norn, or how every time he looks back at his past life, he ends up hating himself. There is no redemption. Rudy has never done anything to redeem himself. He's just trying to move on. And you can take that as you will. For me, I don't really care too much. But what I do care about is the double marriage. Now, I'm going to go into spoiler territory. If you don't want to hear spoilers for the second season of Mushoku Tensei, skip ahead. All right, so the first half of Mushoku Tensei Season 2 is spent building up Rudius' relationship with a previous character, Sylphie, and you see them grow close together and eventually get married and have a kid on the way. And if you look hard enough, there's a clip of two of the dub voice actors on the Crunchyroll TikTok page saying that they think that these two are so cute together. And to that, I agree. So what happens? Rudius cheats on her. So within the second core of Mushoku Tensei, he ends up meeting up with his first love and goddess, Roxy, his teacher. And they end up growing close together because Rudy saved her in the dungeon that they were traversing in and she thought she was dead. So from that point on, she started crushing on Rudius. Keep in mind, he's still married to Sylphie. And eventually, Roxy hops into Rudy's bed one night and they have sex. And the worst part about this is that Roxy knew that Rudius was married to someone. And towards the end of the season, Rudy ends up also marrying Roxy and telling Sylphie, hey, about what I said earlier, I know I said that I wasn't going to marry another person even though I wasn't allowed to, but I'm still asking for your permission to be married to you and someone else. And I'm just like, okay, sure, that makes sense. Even his sisters are like, what? Like, is this really what you were doing on a life-threatening mission? Like, I get you were depressed, but still, dude, like, come on. And the worst part about it all is that Rudy doesn't get punished in any way, shape, or form. Sylphie is like, I mean, like, that kind of sucks, but I'm glad that it was this person in particular because you already liked them before me. And I'm just like, what? And then the season just kind of like goes deeper into Rudy's drama so that we can forget about the fact that he cheated and went back against his word of only marrying Sylphie. Sure. And this is just one example of the writer of Mushoku Tensei going off the bars and just writing stuff that is heavily outdated. And even if it was outdated, it should never be written as a light novel. So for every feat of writing that Mushoku Tensei has, which there is a lot of great writing, there is also a bit of a sour taste that you have from reading some of the material. So if you approach this series, I would tread lightly. And considering it's number 6, that means that there is still something in here that is worth reading. Coming in at number 5 is Konosuba Season 3. Now, this was a long time coming. It has been 7 years since the second season of Konosuba. And Konosuba was one of my first anime, at least the first 10. And I even have a Konosuba poster in my room. So it is a very special anime to me. That being said, I remember Konosuba being a lot funnier when I was younger. And the more I grew up, the less funnier it became. Season 3 was still a very great season because it focused more on the dynamics between the characters, specifically darkness. And I love darkness. The comedy was still there with Konosuba. You'll still get a laugh somewhere and enjoy the character dynamics. It's been very consistent. So there's nothing new to really bring to the table involving this one. If you love Konosuba seasons 1 or 2, you should definitely watch it. If you are unfamiliar with Konosuba, it is kind of degenerate. No. It is very degenerate. Be careful who you decide to watch this in front of, but it's funny. That's all. Number 4, My Hero Season 7. Now, say what you want, but I like My Hero. I like it better than a lot of other shonens. I would even go as far to say that I like it better than the most popular modern shonen Jujutsu Kaisen. So I was excited for Season 7. And it's not disappointing so far. There are some insane moments, like Shigaraki and All For One fights. There are some insane reveals. And since we're in the endgame, stakes are higher. So a lot of things are going down. And I don't want to say too much with My Hero Season 7 because this is a lot more popular and people are probably going to be more particular with spoilers. But I will say that so far, every time Shigaraki is on screen, I just have to sit there and just prepare for the fight of the episode because every scene with him is just crazy. I can't lie to you. Shigaraki is genuinely the MVP for the hype this season. As for the anime of My Hero, there's only one season left before they end the anime because the manga just recently ended and it's something. Empty and unfulfilling is a word that people use. Personally, I think that the ending makes sense for the manga, but I can understand why people don't like it. So far, season 7's pretty cool. I think we should get on that. So yeah, season 7, highly recommend. If you were on the fence about watching season 7, go watch it. I don't know why you would watch up to season 6 and not watch season 7. That would be kind of strange. Now, I'm kind of cheating with this one, but number 3 on my list is Frieren, which is an anime that came out in fall but had 24 episodes. So it was here for a good amount of time. Frieren, there's nothing new I can really add to Frieren. The show blew me away. The first time I heard about it was around this time last year when I was reviewing my anime hot takes and someone said, hey, you should watch Frieren. And I was like, okay. And I read it and I was amazed by the character dynamics. And when I don't say this lightly, but I think Frieren has probably some of the best character dynamics I've seen in an anime. The connections that Frieren has with her fellow characters is very deep. The story of Frieren is an elf who can live for hundreds of years. And this particular elf went on a journey with a hero named Himmel, and they ended up sharing a very close bond with each other. And so eventually age catches up to Himmel and Frieren realizes that she's crying at his funeral, which is weird to her because people come and go. So to her, she's wondering, why is this affecting me so much? So she goes on a journey and meets 2 other people, Ern and Stark. And seeing these 2 grow, it's very refreshing because there is no fan service in the show, meaning that Stark doesn't look like a pervert and Fern doesn't do oh my God, how did you walk into my dressing room or something like that every anime loves to do. You know what I'm talking about because it's not at all rare. But even when there are moments that you could consider fan service, but it is nowhere comparable to other animes. There's probably 2 scenes that are considered fan service, and they're not that bad. Now, when it comes to flashbacks, Frieren hands down probably has the best ones I've seen out of any anime because normally when you see flashbacks, you just kind of sigh and you think, oh, can it just end already? But with this one, it's different because it feels like you're seeing 2 stories happen at once. Now, the flashbacks are brief, but they do so much for Frieren's character. The best example I can think of is when she went to a restaurant with Stark and Fern, and she reflected about the good time she had with Himmel. Since in the beginning of the journey that she had with Himmel, she didn't really look at life the way she did after it. Because before, everything was so insignificant. Time passes by so fast, everything just dies in a blink of an eye to her. But then she looks at the journey that she had and she realizes that each tiny moment is so valuable. My friend randomly threw out a joke saying that this should be called the melancholic journey of Frieren, and I couldn't agree anymore because there are so many happy moments shrouded in depressing memories, and it's incredible that the mangaka of Frieren is able to balance these feelings so well. And that's not even scratching the surface because Frieren has the feelings and it has the animation. Because Frieren, the animation is smooth and it is insane. Any animator that you talk to will talk about how Frieren is probably one of the best animated animes out there. Because Madhouse decided to do this thing where they do absolutely nothing for years on end and then decide to drop a banger out of nowhere. Now, I won't lie. It took some time for me to actually get into Frieren. The first couple episodes were a bit slow for me, but afterwards, everything was smooth sailing. So if you're thinking that, you started Frieren and you're not on the hype train, watch it more. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Coming in at number 2 is The Dangers in My Heart Season 2. Now, when I first saw this anime last year, I thought, ew, the main character is into killing things and he wants to kill the main girl. That is absolute trash. Who would write something like that? And then this weird thing started happening. Every time I heard about The Dangers in My Heart, people were praising it to be one of the best animes ever made. And I thought to myself, what? There's no way. Nothing like this could be that good, right? So then season 2 drops and I gave it some time and eventually I decide I'll bite. I'm probably not going to like this, but I'll give it a shot. And now The Dangers in My Heart is one of my favorite romance animes that I've ever watched and might just be a top 10 anime for me, even a top 5. You see, normally when I look at animes, it's so hard for me to connect with one. I like a lot of animes, but something about this just hit different. This is literally the definition of don't judge a book by its cover, because the way that the main character grows from the beginning of the show to the end, oh my god, it's incredible. Like, I'm going to be so honest with you. If it wasn't for this show, I wouldn't have even watched Nokonoko Kosh Gantan, because towards the end of season 2, they were like feeding deers and I'm like, I need a new show after this. I guess I'll watch the deer anime. But, this show just, I can't. Watch it. I'm not saying anything more. Just watch the show. Every single episode, I just thought to myself, I need another episode. I need one more episode. I watched the entire thing in 2 days. Each season took me 1 day. I haven't fiended like that for an anime in so long. Watch it. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, after singing such high praises for a show like that, how could anything be number 1? Well, that's because it's Oshi No Ko. Yeah. Number 1 on this list is Oshi No Ko's second season. Now, take everything I just said about how hard it is for me to connect to an anime, and then there's Oshi No Ko and Love is War, both written by Akasaka, and I will defend both series to the day I die. So with the second season coming out, there was some pushback since some events happened in the manga. I'm not going to say what. And now nobody really cares about this show. And I think that kind of sucks because this season is incredible. And if you're thinking of what you've heard on the internet, shut up. Like, please just watch season 2. I beg of you. If you're going to drop it, fine. But like, just watch season 2 because it's the play arc. Like all these cool things going around with the camera and stuff. Like, please. I'm begging you, if you're going to drop the show, please do it after season 2. Please. I'm excited to see Oshi No Ko's take on the entertainment industry once again as it goes into the play arc. Now, even though I've read the manga, I still sit there and enjoy every last minute of each episode. And does it sound like I'm glazing? Yes, because I am. And that's because as a manga reader, watching the anime is still enjoyable because they do so many things that a manga can't, such as creating the play Tokyo Blade. In Oshi No Ko Season 2, they create the play called Tokyo Blade, and there are so many cool things that go on. There's like actual fight scenes in a slice of life drama. Like, come on! And Season 2 goes for a more artistic feel compared to Season 1, and I appreciate it heavily because it looks amazing whenever they just decide to pop off. There was like a whole minute sequence in the anime where it was not even in the manga, and I thought, wow, you just animated this out of the blue. Like, how did you think of this? And it continues to show how much the directors and animators just care about this show. So that being said, I'll say it once, I'll say it 100 times. Watch Oshi No Ko, please. Anyway, that was my top 10 animes that came out in 2024. Now, of course, there are animes I watched that I did really like, but unfortunately did not make the list, such as Apothecary Diaries. Very interesting show. It's just that some moments I enjoy more than others. A Condition Called Love, the first 6 episodes had me kind of iffy on the main couple since it seemed kind of red flaggy, but it improved over time. Also, the main reason I watched this was because the main girl's name was Photaru, which is similar to Photaru. Listen, the reason may be dumb, but it's my reason, okay? Mashal was a pleasant surprise, but it's not the type of show that I would watch. And also, I know people would crucify me if I did not mention the second opening for Mashal made by Creepy Nuts, which to this day still gets played a lot. And Creepy Nuts' popularity is not going to dwindle down as they are also making the opening for Dandadan, so look forward to that. Because a lot of fans seem to be enjoying it ever since Netflix accidentally leaked the entire season for Dandadan, but that's a story for another day. And I think that's about all I have to say for now. But the year's not over yet, and it looks like there's a bunch of animes coming out this fall that are definitely going to be heavy hitters. And I just want to give another special thanks for being the host of On Cloud Anime for an entire year, which is insane. I am so thankful for the people who decide to give me a chance as the host of this podcast and continue to support me even outside of it, as well as the people who have listened to me rant about anime for the last year. And if you want to hear me rant about anime more, go to my YouTube channel at Photaru, where I just do a bunch of random anime-related content, and if you enjoy, subscribe. But that's all. I'm your host, Photaru, and I'll see you later.